welcome to Half the Battle. We're back to the cartoon this week.
And we're taking a look at the episode Cobra Quake.
But before we get started, I should mention this story deals with Cobra using earthquakes as a terrorist attack against Japan.
Yeah, in hindsight, this is just a whole ball of awkward. This episode was made decades before the word tsunami became a household name, so I won't fault it for that.
Besides, there are plenty of other things to fault it for.
I thought I'd just mention it, since people would wonder why I didn't otherwise. Anyway, our story begins with the Joes flying a plane full of important delegates to an economic conference in Tokyo. Cobra is aware of the operation, though, and is ready to strike.
Wild Weasel, attack when ready.
Wild Weasel here. We're ready.
I want prisoners.
If you insist.
Well, at least they give a reason for not shooting anybody this time.
Yeah, but they crash when they've got rattlers on their tail.
Okay, there's no way for Gung-Ho to look behind him and spot the enemy planes.
Yeah, I know, nitpicky.
Since their plane is unarmed and being shot full of holes, Wild Weasel orders them to land, even providing a landing strip for them.
Fire ATG missiles in carpet formation. There's your runway, G.I. Joe.
Like in the Germ, there's no problem in the G.I. Joe universe a few explosions can't solve. They land, and Cobra gets ready to take them prisoner. Only...
Yo, Joe!
it was all a trick. The delegates were on a different plane, and this was all a diversion.
Though I do have a problem here.
So, you've set up an ambush for the ambushers. You've loaded your plane with attack vehicles for close-quarter combat. Then, why the hell would you bring the Slugger? It's an artillery piece for long-range engagements and would suck against small maneuverable vehicles like those ferrets. So, why use it at all?
Well, to sell the toy, obviously. Forgot what show I was watching for a moment.
At least a Ram motorcycle makes more sense. With Sky Striker showing up to complete the trap, Cobra is defeated and they are rounded up. All three of them. Yeah, they didn't commit that many forces, did they? Cobra Commander has a plan B, though.
They have tricks, but we have tricks within tricks.
Oh, the conference site will be heavily guarded by the Jaws.
I know. And therefore they will be guarding the wrong place.
Kinda makes you wonder why there was a plan A at all.
Oh, right. Action scenes to sell toys. My bad.
Anyway, the conference is underway, and let's play Counter Stereotypes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 stereotypes. 9 if you count the guy dressed as a sea captain for some reason. They are protected by the entire Joe team, except for Quick Kick, Bazooka, and their trainees in Hokkaido. It's never explained why they have trainees, or why they're all Japanese, or why frickin' Bazooka is an instructor, but there they are. Maybe Japan wanted their own version of the Joe team? By the way, those trainees...
They only show up in this episode and are never mentioned again.
they practice shooting, hand-to-hand combat, and of course, bomb disposal.
Good evening. Welcome to Bomb Theater.
Yeah, in the cartoon, Quick Kick is a walking classic movies reference, since he used to be a Hollywood stuntman. And you may remember this scene from my Bazooka review.
His finest hour! Did I say finest? I meant most horrible.
First, blue. Second, red. Then,
There's only one left.
right,
How low can a Joe fall?
pretty damn low, actually, as his abject failure is interrupted by an earthquake, causing a crack in the ground that swallows him whole, as well as causing a rock slide that destroys the camp.
Evade! Evade!
Dodge!
Did I really just steal a joke from Dragon Ball Z Abridged? Yeah. Well, steal from the best, they say.
Everybody is here except Bazooka.
He's gone. He was a good man.
And nothing of value was lost. Oh, who am I kidding? Of course the cartoon isn't kind enough to put Bazooka out of my misery, so he's just fine. Cobra Commander is pleased with the test, but they need more information, and so do the Joes.
I don't get it. There are no active faults in that area.
Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty sure there are. For reference, according to Earthquake Track, there have been 7 earthquakes in Hokkaido in this past month, and 187 in the past year. The Joes are gonna get the help of an expert seismologist, Dr. Morita. Lady J and Bazooka are sent to have a word with him, but all is not as it seems. They arrive just as he's being kidnapped by 2 blue-robed guys. They give chase, but it turns out that it was Storm Shadow in disguise. And his kidnappers were Storm Shadow too.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Storm Shadow has disciples this episode. Like the trainees, they never show up again. I suppose it makes some sense, considering his ninja clan lives in Japan, so they could be from there, but it's never explained in the story. Also, while wearing that disguise, how is he making the lips move when he has a ninja mask on underneath? Anyway, they have a brief fight, during which our heroes end up in a koi pond.
Good ride.
And now Bazooka is breaking the 4th wall. Linkara's gonna be pissed.
Before they can get overwhelmed by Storm Shadow clones, Quick Kick shows up to even the odds. And you know, finally, it's Quick Kick against Storm Shadow. Makes far more sense than frickin' Spirit, who was Stormy's arch enemy in the cartoon for some reason. The bad guys get away, though Quick Kick and Bazooka go after them. They track him to a Bunraku theater.
You know, the Japanese puppet thing.
And it leads to the most inefficient attack I've ever seen by Cobra. And that's saying something. The Joes are attacked by puppets. Not robots, not magical creatures, puppets. They survive this assault of mild annoyance, but instead of Storm Shadow, they find Scrap Iron. I haven't really talked about Scrap Iron on the show before. He's supposed to be Destro's tech guy who comes up with new weapon systems. This doesn't come across in the cartoon, really. Working for Destro, I mean. Though he does come up with some gizmos. He drops them through a trapdoor, and we get the worst pun in the history of the show.
Just in case you get lonely, I'm sending my pal down. He's a real dynamite guy.
Oh yeah, I'm playing that clip. I had to suffer through it, so you have to too.
He's a real dynamite guy.
A bomb. I'll disarm it.
They get out of there using a rope and somehow manage to outrun the explosion, diving into a produce truck.
You okay?
Yeah. Have a banana?
Okay, that was actually kind of funny.
Meanwhile, Lady J is going through the doctor's house and finds a seismic map. Unfortunately, she gets ambushed by the Baroness and more Storm Shadow clones, with the book being the exact thing they were looking for since Morita refused to help them. Lady J activates a homing beacon so the Joes can find her. Quick Kick, Bazooka, and Teiko, the trainee, are sent to rescue her.
Because of course you want to send an untested recruit on this sort of mission.
Then again, considering her teammates are a former stuntman who doesn't believe in shirts, and freaking Bazooka, she's probably the most qualified of them all.
Lady J is in there.
No, really? You're saying the person captured by Cobra is in the building with a giant stone cobra on it? Good thing you brought that tracker. Sure enough, she and the doctor are chained up in a dungeon, with her backpack full of javelins still on her, in a position where she could probably get to them. And these are all specialized javelins, I remind you, like exploding ones or laser ones, and one that does something she's not gonna talk about in public. This is like locking Batman up with his utility belt, or the Doctor with his sonic screwdriver, or Tony Stark with a bottle of Jack Daniels and a regular screwdriver. Also, the javelins only appear in the close-up shots, but disappear in the wide shots, so they're not even consistent in their incompetence.
Anyway,
the Baroness can't help but tell them Tokyo will be destroyed by an earthquake, because revealing your evil plan to a captured hero is like one of the rules or something. The rescue party arrives, but Cobra Commander doesn't seem worried. He just pulls a lever and drops about 50 snakes on them while making his getaway.
I'm actually impressed. I mean, dude must have gotten so used to people coming to rescue his prisoners that he's just calculated it into his plans at this point.
Also, quick kick, buddy. Walking around barefoot probably doesn't seem like such a great idea now that you're surrounded by angry snakes, now does it? As if the constant threat of tetanus wasn't bad enough. Quick Kick uses a fire extinguisher to stop the snakes, sure, why not, and they get out of there. Back to the conference that's taking place in 2 buildings that look uncomfortably like the World Trade Center.
Because this episode wasn't problematic in hindsight enough.
Thanks to the doctor, Dave discovered Cobra has planted 3 bombs that, when set off, will cause a massive earthquake.
Science time!
Can explosions cause an earthquake?
Short answer, no. A long answer, hell no.
The United States Geology Survey, as well as pretty much every scientist in the field, says it's impossible. The energy needed to cause an earthquake far, far exceeds anything a bomb could produce. This is also why using explosions to prevent earthquakes wouldn't work. That's what Dr. Morita was actually researching. He wasn't a usual mad scientist. He was actually trying to do good.
If you want proof, I've got 2 words. Nuclear weapons.
The bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki didn't cause earthquakes, and neither did any of the hundreds of nuclear tests conducted over the past century. And some of those tests were pretty big freaking bombs, as well as being underground. Yet not a single one caused a city to be destroyed by an earthquake. Great. After talking about earthquakes, tsunamis, I'm now talking about nuclear bombs and Japan.
At this point, I'm expecting Godzilla to come in and bitch slap me.
So yeah, put simply, Cobra's plan is complete scientific crap. Yeah, big shock. I don't mind when it's stuff like building a laser to graffiti the moon, or a weather control machine or something, since those are obvious scientific bullcrap. But this type of stuff rubs up against real life just close enough that it sounds plausible, while it's still bullcrap. Still, for the sake of argument, let's assume that in the G.I. Joe universe, you could use bombs to cause earthquakes. Or prevent them, since in that reality there's no problem that can't be fixed with explosions.
Then they're still doing it wrong!
2 of the 3 bombs are on the frickin' surface. In one case, high above the surface, in fact, around the neck of a statue. They'd need to be underground for them to have any effect. You see, the force of an explosion follows the path of least resistance, so most of the energy unleashed would go upwards and sideways, not into the freaking ground where it would be needed. They even get their fake science wrong.
Anyway, yeah, I know I use the word all the time anyway, but it's really a big one this time, so... Anyway...
The Joes split up into 3 teams to find the bombs. One team is Bazooka and Takeo.
In charge.
You don't
Great, now Bazooka has devolved to the point where he can't speak in complete sentences anymore. Actually, it's because he's been mad at her ever since she insulted his penis by taking him down in a fight way back at the beginning of the episode. And people wonder why I hate cartoon Bazooka sometimes. So, they find all 3 bombs and it's up to freaking Bazooka to disarm them. We're doomed.
Blue.
Really? All episode, whenever he wanted to disarm something, they've stopped him because he's so incompetent. But now, when everything depends on it, he's the go-to guy. So, of course, he gets it right and 2 bombs are disarmed. Before he can disarm his own one, though, Scrap Iron shows up to piss in his cornflakes. Fortunately, Taiko's got him covered.
Maybe not.
Lady, that seems like an awful place to hide your throwing stars. And so the day is saved, and Bazooka's penis grew 3 sizes that day. Also, Scrap Iron tries to kill them again, but I only mention it because it would inspire Die Hard 4 a couple of decades later.
Jump!
And with that, the bad guys are defeated.
But we're not done. We're never done. There's still Dakota.
The Joes are being treated to a meal, but they're unimpressed.
I can't eat this stuff. Octopus. Yuck.
They don't really expect us to eat this. My mind is open. It's my mouth that's shut. Ugh. I think it just grabbed my chopsticks.
Wait till it gets to your stomach.
It's just sushi, you idiots! There have been sushi restaurants in the US since the 60s. Sure, it didn't become mega popular until the 90s, but you still should have already tried it. But no, let's go with, haha, Japanese food is gross.
I'll give this scene one thing though. They managed to sneak something past the censors.
They're clearly enjoying some sake, Japanese rice wine, in a time when having somebody drink alcohol in a cartoon was extremely frowned upon. Hell, that's why in Dragon Ball Z they recolored some drinks to turn them from beer into apple juice. I guess the censor had no idea what sake was or looked like. And that was Cobra Quake.
And it was exhausting.
Look, the basic premise of the story is a good one, actually. Cobra using earthquakes to threaten the world.
What we ended up getting, though, was something I just have too many problems with.
For one thing, there was Storm Shadow having a posse all of a sudden. They show up for 1 episode and are never seen again and aren't explained. Speaking of showing up once, same goes for the Japanese Joe trainees. They only appear in this episode.
It's a huge missed opportunity.
You could have introduced new characters this way. I'm particularly sad we never see Taiko again, weaponized breasts or no. Hell, if they had some foresight, they could have made that character Jinx, who'd show up in the movie 2 years later. For another thing, there's the whole pseudoscience of having bombs cause earthquakes. It just pisses me off. They could have used lasers, like they do with everything else. That's more in line with what they normally do on the show.
The biggest flaw with this episode, though, well, that's Bazooka.
I mean, I get that he's the dumb comic relief, despite his file card saying the opposite, and I accept that. But this episode took the cake. He starts off too stupid to know how to cut the only wire left on a bomb, with the rest of the episode trying to disarm things that don't need disarming. It's only at the very end that he all of a sudden becomes capable of disarming the bombs.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. I'm pretty much convinced that he accidentally cut the right wires at the end of the episode.
Same thing with his relationship with Taiko. He starts off pissed at her, continues to be in that state to the very end, and only then eases up when she saves his frickin' life. Those things are not character development. That's staying the same all through the damn story and having it shoved in at the end. Even if I play devil's advocate and say he tried to disarm all the other stuff to prove the first failure was just a one-of-a-kind error, that still doesn't explain his attitude towards the girl. Ugh. Look, in conclusion, the episode was a good idea, but horribly executed.
See you next time, everybody!